Cohort-based learning is an interesting thing in that in some ways it's new and exciting, and in other ways it's what we've always done, I think. So in my view, cohort-based learning I would describe as courses where a group of students move through an experience together in cohorts. But as I say, in some ways, like this is every course that if we went to school or college or university, we have ever experienced. But I think cohort-based learning includes two really critical things generally that set it apart from traditional learning, which for me is a more kind of sage on the stage lecture type approach. So for me, those two things are connection. So cohort-based learning tends to involve quite meaningful, challenging, game-changing connection with both an instructor who's like expert in the space and with your peers. So a network of people who are, weird in the same way as you, as Wes Ko describes, which I really like. And then the second thing that sets it apart from a more traditional kind of knowledge transfer lecture type scenario, I think, is active participation. So in a classroom, in lectures, generally we work solo and we have quite a passive role consuming content while we listen to this sage on the stage. The cohort-based learning experience is much more about actively participating by creating new knowledge and skills through doing something alongside other people. So it's much less about sitting and listening, and it's much more about completing projects and learning in the process of action. And I think this active applied approach to learning also isn't that new. So we have quite a lot of evidence. This is what I find exciting because I'm all about the evidence, but we do have quite a lot of evidence from, decades, if not, I think in the UK, over 100 years of education of this type in, for example, medical schools, where instead of learning about certain diseases just by sitting and listening and reading books, medical students get really hands-on. They'll, interview a real patient, or they'll go through a close to real case study, and they'll practice diagnosis, treatment, and these kind of things. And so, cohort-based learning is both new and not new. But regardless, it's very exciting because I think, for me anyway, this is a real renaissance in pedagogy, a shift from everything about content to a focus on experience, connection, and action.